Good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way. We are live Monday night special. Oh, I've just lost Rich. Rich has just disappeared on me. No idea where he's gone. Anyway, good evening. Just while we're waiting to get Richard back. Tonight, I thought we'd just come and have a little bit of a chat. A little bit of World Cup, but not World Cup as in like going through the World Cup. What it's going to be about is looking at our boys during the World Cup. Who's come home? Who is due to not come? Who's due to come home, in your opinion? And who actually may get quite far? And also, the little conundrums that are going to come up thanks to this World Cup. I think Rich is back. Richard?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello. How are you? Are you there? Richard? Richard?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm not sure. Might be in a dead zone or something.
Oh, what are you doing at Alan's house? Anyway,
I'm not
good
in,
evening.
Not in Tasmania, that's for sure.
Anyway, right. You'll have to excuse me. I've got a really bad cough tonight, and it's like one of them coughs that will not piss off. I don't know why. Anyway, so Rich, I thought we'd come on and have a
You're
little
on
chat
mute now,
about.
Matt.
Pardon? I missed that one. Yeah, I thought I'd come and have a little bit of a chat with Rich all about Manchester City in the World Cup. So, good evening to Alec Johnson, Charlotte, Super City. Hello to all. I know there might not be many on because there's currently a game that's just finished, and this was advertised literally only about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So, it was a late decision. Anyway, Rich.
Yes.
First of all, World Cup, what are you thinking about it? Let's just get your initial thoughts on the actual tournament itself before we go into our boys.
Well, I think it's, I can see around everyone that, people are starting to watch it more. I think some of the, I guess it's more focused on the football now instead of where the World Cup is. So I think there's definitely been an upsurge in interest. There's been some good games. I've mainly been, watching highlights or watching the early games because there's 6 a.m. games here. The rest of the games in the middle of the night. But I think, and you're starting to see the cream rising to the top in that, we had a lot of surprises early on in the group stage, but most of the surprises ended up not coming to, that much. Obviously, Germany, went out and Belgium did, but a lot of the others now that we've got to the last 16, the best team has gone through. So it's looking quite a strong final 8 so far.
I have no idea who that was, FIFA. Let me know who it was, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, this World Cup's reminded me a lot of the Champions League. You sort of go through the group stages and no one's very bothered. And then all of a sudden you're sort of at the knockout phases and everyone gets excited.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, at least, unlike the Champions League, at least some good sides went out at the group stage and at least there were some upsets in games that matters. So
yeah,
it wasn't quite the snooze fest of the Champions League. And because they didn't have that stupid head-to-head rule in the World Cup, there seemed to be jeopardy in the last week of nearly every game. So I think it wasn't like the Champions League. I think that's a bit harsh, but it was, it's definitely you're seeing the interest going up, and I think in Australia, I think people were interested because they assumed the Australian team were going to get battered 3 times and really didn't deserve to be at the World Cup. So I think,
Yeah.
there came a lot of late, strong interest. Obviously, they then went out, but I think it probably did Australian football, a lot of good in this country, just because of the way the team played compared to what's expected. And I think obviously
Right.
it's going to go crazy now. England France is a huge game. I mean, shy of England Germany, it's probably the biggest game England could be playing in terms of the fans and getting the papers and the people going. So I suspect it's going to be a lot more interesting the next few days till Sunday's game.
Yeah. No, well, Saturday for us,
Ah,
Sunday
yes,
for you. Anyway, what I want to do is, Rich, I'm going to give you a list of the Manchester City players who originally went out to Qatar. So we'll start off Netherlands. Obviously, we had Nathan Ake. Now, I'm not going to talk about people within the City group because we had players at Melbourne City as well who represented Australia. But there was Nathan Ake, there's Kyle Walker, John Stones, Calvin Phillips, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Julian Alvarez, who I'm sure we're going to talk about. There was Emerick Laporte, Rodri, Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Edison, Manuel Akanji, João Cancelo, Ruben Diaz, and Bernardo Silva. All out, all went out to Qatar. Now, obviously, the big shock here, and you're going to tell me whether it is or it isn't, Kevin De Bruyne is home after the group stage. And so is Ilkay Gundogan. Were those two that you actually thought would be coming home early, Rich, to be honest? I think we just lost Rich again.
Belgium winning it.
Sorry, Rich, we lost you there. Just repeat that again, mate. Yeah, I've got you now.
No, I didn't see Belgium winning it. I didn't see them going out of the group stage. I think De Bruyne made a point. They're an older side, and particularly Hazard just isn't. He was a talisman for them, a bit like Bale had been for Wales, really, except with a lot more quality around him, and he just hasn't done it for a few years now. So I think they were past it, and I think Martinez, has blown that generation. Because clearly there's going to be a very different side in a few years' time. Germany, I don't know what I thought about Germany really. To me, they've been a side that's like top 10 in the world for a long time, but they haven't really looked like they're going to win stuff. So not many people would talk about Germany as a favourite, compared to Argentina, France, or Brazil. So I think they're surprises, but I don't think they're huge surprises if you look at the form and the way they've been the last few years. And I think probably if we needed two players of our older players who we could do with being rested and not being overplayed, it's probably those two. So it's probably good news for City.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Kevin coming home, Gundo coming home, especially at Gundo's age, and even at Kevin's age, they're going to get a decent rest now. And
they'll be fired up.
Yeah, we should have them available, obviously, for that Liverpool game now on the 22nd. So at least that's Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Haaland, and Mahrez all scheduled to be playing against Liverpool. Now, whether we can get Akanji back, we'll see. Do you know who I feel sorry for out there, Rich, at the moment? Edison.
Who?
Edison.
Yeah,
the guy's gone out there. Yeah. He's played one game. Yeah. Was it Cameroon, as I believe?
Yeah.
And even tonight, they played South Korea. South Korea were absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Brazil were not much better. that scoreline totally flattered Brazil tonight. I'll be straight with you. And I thought they were taking the piss a little bit when they're bringing on Dani Alves and bringing on their third choice goalkeeper.
Yeah. I mean, Ederson's a hard one, isn't it? Because he was kind of first choice for the last Copa America. He got in front of Alisson, but Alisson generally the last 4 years has been, 5 years has been their first choice. So it's kind of a bit like that Peter Shilton and Ray Clements or something. And he's the Ray Clements. I mean, not to say the person I really felt sorry for in those days was Big Joe, who
Big Joe Corrigan.
In other eras of English football, he could have got 100 caps. So it's, but I just think there's, I think Ederson probably knew he was, likely to be second choice. But it's a whisker between them.
I just sat there thinking, Edison's gone all that way. He's our number one goaler. And he's basically he's having a rest. But if Brazil get all the way to the final, he's going to miss games. For what?
Yeah. But if Brazil get all the way to the final, he might be a World Cup winner. And, I don't feel sorry, I don't feel sorry for anyone, even if they don't play all the games. They're still part of it. They still get the medal. They've still played in qualifying. They still played a game. It's like if England, were to go and win the World Cup. Yeah. Calvin Phillips or Jack Grealish, would I feel sorry for them? No, they'd be one of the highlights of their lives. I mean, so I think
fair point. Yeah.
I think Ederson goes there knowing that he's like 40% or 30% first team keeper, but Alisson's slightly ahead of him. And he knows they trust him. He knows he's played lots of games for Brazil. But, if Alisson plays and plays well, he's probably not going to get a game unless they get, go to the third, fourth place playoff.
Well, FIFA, Alec Johnson, a lot of people are actually saying that Brazil won't get to the final, so we have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, no, it's well, I think you get to the stage honestly now where pretty much any sides could get. I don't think there's massive overwhelming favourites now. Argentina could get there, Brazil could get there. I think most of the big European teams left in could get there. So I don't know that there's anyone who can't. I think it's a fairly even World Cup. There's no outstanding teams.
No, and I'll be straight with you on that. I mean, Charlie makes a very good point. It was something I thought of earlier, Rich. He said, we have players in the World Cup going to the final. They're 100% going to go home and have an open top bus parade. They're going to have a lot of celebrating to do. They ain't just going to come home straight away. So, if we take Argentina, for example, with Julian Alvarez, we might not see him for a while yet. Rich? I think we just lost Rich a minute. Are you back?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I think that's a great point by Charlie. But Edison, like I said, do feel sorry for him, but he kind of probably knew what he was getting into with Alisson. Let's move on to the star man of the tournament so far then, shall we? From a Manchester City point of view, Julian Spider-Man Alvarez. He's lighting this World Cup up. Oh, I think Rich is in and out. Rich is in the car at the minute. This is the problem. I'm going to try and get him back. Are you with us, Rich?
I am. Sorry about
that.
Right,
that's better. Right, Julian Alvarez, Rich. I was just saying he's lighting up this World Cup.
Yeah, I've seen a fair bit of him because I've watched a couple of Argentina games. I
Is
think
this
he's
good or bad? Because
sorry.
I'm seeing both sides of this at the minute.
I think he's been great.
No, and I don't mean his performances have been bad. I mean when he comes playing like this and coming back to City.
It's only good. Only
Okay.
good.
So you don't see any issues if Pep goes see going back to the bench?
I think what we want is all our players playing really well and putting pressure on Pep to pick them. And I think if he's playing that well and he's showing it on the world stage, he's showing Pep he can do it. And I think Pep's more likely to pick him. So, I don't think Pep's going to keep him on the bench if he's in training and in matches playing like he is.
Good point. But then again, who does it? So, because listen, he's proved me wrong. He proved me completely wrong in terms of I thought he was a second striker, but he's proven he can play on the left or the right.
Yeah, no, I think he showed for City in a couple of games when he was playing from the side that he can do it, and ultimately.
Oh, there was only Forest, Rich.
Yeah, I thought he should have played a little bit more at the expense of Mahrez, to be honest, because I didn't think Mahrez deserved to.
This is my conundrum, Rich. Riyad Mahrez signed a brand new contract in the summer. Yeah?
Yep.
He will have had a small bump in wages. They announced it all over the website. They made a big deal of it. And then you've got Grealish, who is £100 million on 300 grand a week.
Yep.
Who Pep loves. You ain't just going to bench a 300 grand a week, £100 million player week in, week out.
We're going to play potentially 65 games this season. There's been another 10 international games, 75. So you can play half the games for City and still only play 40 games. So there is going to be, I don't see there's any problem with, giving Grealish and giving, Foden every third game off. I think we're going to have to. Now, yes, at the end of the season, there may be a problem when Pep has to name a Champions League side. If we got to the semi-final or final, there may be a problem, and there may be some unhappy players left out. But
that's what I mean, Rich. And we're right back in the Sterling issue, Jesus issue.
We're going to have injuries. The chances are we're going to have suspensions. The chances are that a player like Alvarez isn't going to kick off in quite the way Sterling.
I was just thinking that, Ali. I think Rich is having a bad time at the minute. I'll just continue till Rich comes back. So, yeah, listen, I'm not saying there is a problem. I'm just saying from an Alvarez point of view, if Alvarez comes back as a World Cup winner and you then put, because let's be honest, before Haaland was sort of unfit, he was not in the team. Other than the Notts Forest, he was not in the team. He played against Leicester. He played against Copenhagen when Haaland was injured. This is my point. This is what I've always been saying. So when he comes back and you say, right, you're going back to the bench and he's a World Cup winner, it could be a problem. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying it could be. Because what that will do is drive attention to other football teams. Now, for anyone to get him out of his contract, you're going to have to pay 150 million quid. No doubt about it. You're going to have no choice. So, I don't want to see another, hey, this is the problem we had with Gabby. And I suppose this is what you get when you come to Manchester City of, do you know what? I'd never want to be Pep. I'd never, ever want to be Pep because that guy must have to make so many difficult choices in his life that it must hurt him. But like Rich said, I'm going to bring Rich back who's just come in. I don't want to see a Champions League final situation where he picks Sterling to keep Sterling happy. Because that happens when Eric Garcia, it is Charlie, and it's not when it's a final and you're forced to play a player to stop him kicking off. That's not a good problem to have. And that's what happened in the Champions League final. Are you back with us, Rich? I think Rich is just having a nightmare in a minute. Rich is just not turning his Wi-Fi on today. Hey, can you hear us? Richard. Right, we'll just see if Rich comes back. Someone put 10p in the meter, yeah. Thoughts on the Abu Dhabi camp? We'll probably have friendlies over there as well. I'm quite happy. I kind of envisioned we're going over there to get this Pep contract and everything all photographed up and sorted out, and he'll go. He did. Pep talked about that we're going over there, so I'm all for it. We're always going to go over to Abu Dhabi any chance we get, because obviously that's where our owners are from. I'm all up for it. Rich, are you back with us?
Yeah, so I'm just coming out of it. Hello?
Yeah.
I'm in a dead spot, but I'm just coming out of it, so it should be fine after that. Apologies.
All right. No worries. See, like I said, I do think it's a good problem to have and a bad problem to have, because you always fall in that Eric Garcia, Raheem Sterling situation where you end up feeling sorry for them and playing them in silly situations when they shouldn't play. But the problem is you've got Grealish, you've got Mahrez. You can't just bench them. Grealish was bought for 100. You can't, Rich. You can't. How do you say to a guy who's just signed a brand new contract, you're on the bench now?
Changes. I'm not worried about that. I think we need 5, 6 quality forwards.
Right. Okay, listen, I'm only asking the question because I think there's a lot of talk amongst fans of Alvarez comes back and Grealish drops to the bench immediately. I just don't see that happening.
No, I think when we get back, actually, it's going to be a question of who's fit, who's ready to play, who's, fatigued. And I think the doctors and the physios will play quite a big part in who we pick.
Definitely.
And let's not forget, Alvarez has had 18 months completely solid football. So at some point, I'm sure he's, and I think this is probably why he wasn't overplayed earlier, was because he's played so much football, and they need to keep him in decent shape.
Yes, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, Blue Out said here, Haaland's not automatic though. I think he probably is, Blue Out.
Yeah,
I think if Haaland's fit, Haaland plays. I'm not saying I know this. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's not in his contract. If I'm fit, I start.
Yeah, if it's a big game, I don't.
Yeah,
if it's fit, he starts in the FA Cup or, against Bournemouth in the league. But I'd be amazed if we even consider dropping Haaland in a really big game, and I don't know how he would take it.
I don't think they're going to do anything to rock the boat on Haaland.
No.
Because they know, Rich, there'll be a queue of teams waiting to get him.
Exactly.
You cannot rock the boat with Haaland because he has got a release clause. Whether we like that or not, the guy has a release clause. So we can't dick him around because he'll just go, see you then. I'm out of there. So it's...
if he genuinely lost form or something like that, which is hard to imagine because it's never really happened, but
no, true.
Who knows what,
I don't know, Rich, because I always go back to Sterling when he was out of form for 6 months and just played week in, week out.
Yeah.
I think Pep can sometimes, he can be very weird, Pep, kind of, in some of his decisions.
Yeah.
Like, you see Grealish having a really good vein of form and then he drops him. And you're like, oh, that makes no sense. That's a bit weird.
But no, I think, but back to the first point, I think, any of our players doing well at the World Cup's great. It gives them confidence. It gives them newfound ability. If they were ever going to leave, it puts up their value. So I think we've just got to be pleased that Alvarez is developing and that showing on the world stage is a really big message to Pep that when I come back, you should be playing me and I can play, supporting other players. I can play slightly different roles. And that's a problem I want us to have. I'd love to have prime Mahrez, prime Grealish, prime Foden, prime Alvarez fighting for two positions.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie said that we're going to play every 3 games, every 3 days.
Yeah.
So we have got, I think we've got 2 against Tottenham, 2 against, is it 2? 1 against Tottenham, 2 against Chelsea. We've got Arsenal coming up, United coming up.
Yeah.
Got a hell of a lot of games coming up that are going to be massive in terms of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we just throw the Carabao Cup off. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
It hurts more because it's Liverpool. That hurts.
Hopefully, we've got 7 Champions League games, 24 Premier League games, and some cup games on top because I'd like us to go well in the FA Cup.
I'd love the FA Cup. Right, can I talk about another unsung hero of this World Cup, Rich, who has absolutely impressed me like hell?
Yeah.
Nathan Ake.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I must admit, I haven't seen as much of Ake as some of the other City lads, but what I have seen, he looked like he was, making Virgil, keeping Virgil safe. And, if you were told that, one of those two was the greatest defender that had ever lived and, the defender, the best in the world, you'd probably look and think it was Nathan Ake based on the World Cup so far. He's looked very solid. And we'd say that he's starting to look better for City, more solid. But certainly that the way the Dutch are playing seems to quite suit him. He just looks very, very comfortable, very at ease. And he was worried about not even getting in the squad. He
was. This is a centre back, Rich, who we looked at selling in the summer. And let's be straight here, Rich. If it hadn't been for a club not coming up with the proper fee, he was out the door.
Well, I think we
weird.
Yeah, we wanted big money for him. It wasn't like we were wanting him out. It was like we said.
No, but what I mean is, if Chelsea had come and paid the 50 million, he was gone.
Yeah, but
that's weird.
Well, yes and no. Look at the number of games he's played over the 2 seasons. It's not that weird if you can make a 10 million profit on someone who plays about 20% of your games. It's understandable why it would have been considered, but I think by the time the deal was allegedly advanced, I think we were all a bit nervous because we all knew Laporte was out for quite a while, likely to be out for a month or two of the season. So I think probably by that stage, it wouldn't have been sensible to sell, our second left-sided defender with Laporte's problems.
No, I honestly think Ake has been superb, absolutely superb. And you've hit the nail on the head there, Rich. Looking at it, if you'd have said, "Oh, one of the world's best centre backs is playing," you wouldn't look at VVD. You wouldn't look at Van Dijk and go, "Yeah, you mean him." You'd look at Ake.
Yeah,
you really would. He's that good, and they did very well the other day, obviously against the USA. Did something England couldn't do and beat them. Let's move on to somebody else who I think has also had a blinding World Cup. We have two of our boys playing for Espanyol. I've got to say, I think Spain have played the best football so far in the World Cup for me. If anyone, someone said to me, why would you want Luis Enrique as a Pep replacement? Go back and watch that 7-0 game. It was one-touch pass football. It is the closest thing to Pep Guardiola football you are ever going to get without having Pep Guardiola in charge.
Yeah.
I love Luis Enrique football. It's the closest thing to Guardiola football you're going to get. And do you know what's amazing, man? Rodri. When did Rodri become Van Basten, Maldini? When did that happen, Rich?
Van Basten, he was a striker. I'm not quite sure.
Not Van Basten. Maldini and who's the other guy? Dutch centre back.
Well, Baresi and
yeah.
Curta.
I was thinking of the way I didn't mean Van Basten was a striker. So the famous centre back for him. When did he become that?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I mean, to be fair, I didn't see the second and third Spain game, so I only saw that first one, and he was relatively untested. So it was kind of like playing, a playmaking centre back, which is what City have in a way at times. But they looked incredibly comfortable. But I'm not sure I'd. I rate Rodri. I really like Rodri as a player.
You're going to tell me you don't want Rodri and Laporte together ever, are you?
I'm not sure I'd want him playing in the Premier League.
With Laporte?
Against physical, fast team at centre-back, to be honest. But, I think he's a mainstay of Spain now. And I think, he's, a mainstay of City and Pep. And I think he's a very underrated player. He's not not young. He's not super fast and running back and making mad tackles and stuff. And I think, and I think he replaced Fernandinho, who's to me one of the best kind of centre midfields the Prem's seen. So I think he gets sometimes compared. But in terms of keeping possession and passing and moving and getting the ball and moving the ball on and being able to push forward and put balls to the flanks and stuff, I think he's a very, very good player. I'm not surprised to see him go well. And Laporte as well. I mean, I rate Laporte, he's my, probably at centre-back at City, the player I think is most important. I think he's an exceptional player. So, I'm never surprised when I see Laporte going well. It's just a pity France are going to have to go out because I'd quite like to see Laporte scoring a towering header to put France out, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think Laporte's done very, very well as well. I'm very, very impressed with Laporte. I'm really, out of everyone, the City players are really impressing me. I mean, I can look at Portugal and I can see a Bernardo Silva and the way he sprays the ball around. The guy's everything.
Yeah, I was going to call out.
I don't think he'll stay at City, but I'd love him to.
Yeah,
but I don't think he will.
he was.
And
Yeah,
that will make me cry.
Yeah, I was laughing. I watched a game about a week ago in Portugal, and Bernardo, I thought was the best player on the park, and
By a mile.
And then I was reading afterwards, someone saying Fernandes running Portugal. And it's like, no, you don't understand football. You know, Fernandes didn't have a bad game, and I think he had a couple of assists, but he, Bernardo was running the game, and that's what Bernardo has become. He's become that player who can just be here, there, and everywhere,
Yeah.
all over, and he can do it with that amazing engine, that tactical brain, and the ability to pass, but also the ability to bring a ball down. You know, his first touch is like Mahrez and Foden. You know, there's so many aspects to his game that are just, amazing. But because he's kind of good at everything, he doesn't quite get the same plaudits as, another player who basically runs around crying and whinging, but does a couple of good assists. And then people are like thinking that's amazing when another player's gone and run the game.
Yeah.
So Bernardo, and I mean the other, I didn't think, Cancelo, stood out in a good or a bad way in that game. But I was watching Bernardo a lot, and Diaz was a bit, he's been a bit like I think some
it's
of the
a
other.
mess.
It's hard to judge some of our centre backs because they all look world class.
Cancelo,
pressured.
do you think Cancelo's has he forgotten some of his late club form? Because when he went to the World Cup, it wasn't in spiffing form, shall we say?
Yeah, I just think, and I said this about. I've said it since the start of this season. My worries on Kyle Walker actually is that I think Cancelo plays brilliantly when City play have the positioning that allows him to really truly slide into the middle. And only Kyle Walker playing allows the whole team the flexibility to really let Cancelo go and do what he does best in the middle of the park. I think when Walker isn't playing, he stays too far to the left, assuming he's playing left back, and then he tends to, we have that problem, was it the first half against Palace, where he just sticks on the left because he doesn't trust to go in the middle because he needs to defend, but then he's just basically, him and Phil Foden were holding hands for the whole game, and so I don't think he looks quite as good for Portugal because Portugal don't have Kyle Walker.
No, and they don't. I totally agree with that one. I mean, Portugal, I find boring other than Bernardo Silva. I look at them and I still think to this day, until they get Ronaldo out of that team, they're never going to be what they should be because you can see they're totally engulfed by his presence, his shadow, everything, his aura, everything about the fella. He's even trying to steal goals, and people will say, well, that makes a top marksman trying to steal goals. No, the ball hasn't touched you. Don't wheel away like an idiot, especially on a play you publicly slated. It just makes it look all bad. They don't look like a team unit to me. They don't look like a team unit. I'm sorry, I don't think they do.
Yeah, I think about I thought at the last World Cup 4 years ago, it was starting to look like, or 3.5 years ago, it was starting to look like they'd be better off without him.
Of course they would.
That's the thing. When they play a good team, that a really good defender now is going to be able to keep him quiet. Yes, if the game really opened up because you were 3-0 up against Portugal, or something happen, then he's going to pop up. He's going to get a goal. He's still capable of finishing, but he's just not. You know, you
He's
can
not
now
asked.
you can now match him for athleticism, and you know he was the greatest athlete, I think, in terms of his fitness and his longevity to probably play the game, but his athletic attributes just aren't above the defenders he plays against now.
No.
And
No.
I think it's kind of sad. Whereas Messi, his touch is still there. You know, he has attributes that, you know, are still a lot more powerful with age than probably Ronaldo's are as he's got older. So I think Portugal have a lot of very, very good players, but until Ronaldo retires, I can't see them going on and winning something.
No, and I'm with you on that totally. Right, couple of more left. Obviously we have to mention Akanji's on his way home as well, Rich. Forgot to mention that. So that's another good thing.
I thought they hadn't played yet.
Pardon?
I thought they hadn't played yet.
Thought they would. Am I jumping ahead?
Aren't they playing tomorrow against?
They're playing tomorrow. Ignore me against Portugal. Yeah, ignore me.
So if Akanji,
I've totally not slept today, hardly. I've been at the hospital. That's why I go.
Maybe what we need is Akanji to get a winner, and then we'll get 3 of our players home.
If you could choose between Portugal and Switzerland, do you want home? Portugal.
Well,
Bernardo.
It's a hard one, really, because I don't know. You know, there'll be some players who will be mentally affected by
going out,
you know, not going well. So in a way, I'd rather, it can't happen actually because I think we're in the same side of the draw, but I'd rather as many players do as well as possible and get to the final, because I reckon the boost it would give would be, you know, a lot bigger than the extra week or two getting them back. But it depends on the player.
Of course it is.
Right. I've often, the biggest thing that made me wonder is, you know, what happens if England go on and win it with like 3 or 4 City players in the team? How are all the other fans going to cope with that?
Yeah, I do apologise. I'm going to tell you all about Thursday night before we leave. And then we come to the big one, Rich. England. It's coming home, Rich, apparently.
Well, you know, there's a chance. You know,
Oh, Rich, shut up.
No,
there's not.
England have got you know, maybe France are slight favourites, but I think England have got a coin toss chance of beating France, especially with Benzema and Pogba and other players they've got.
No, it's not France that bother me if we end up with Argentina in the final. I'll be straight with you. I look at France. Other than their strike force, I'm not scared of them.
To be honest, I think France are stronger than Argentina overall as a team.
Yeah, I don't think France haven't got the midfield. I don't think they've got the back line.
I'm not sure.
France are basically Mbappe, and that's even Mbappe. I look at Kyle Walker and I think if Kyle Walker's on his game, Mbappe stops like he did in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And I know it's not the Champions League because this is not City, it's England.
Right. But on the flip side,
I can dream, Charlie.
In the second half of the Argentina Australia game, there were chunks of that game where Australia actually got right on top of Argentina. And Argentina, Australia probably should have scored at least one more goal. Now, there's not one player in that Australia team playing in a top league. Those players are playing in an A League, which is probably Division 1, Division 2 standard. You know, Wrexham would give an A-League team a good game in their National League.
Yeah.
I think you had a player who nearly scored. The one who nearly scored the equaliser has never started a professional game. So, for me, Argentina's defence against what is probably a championship side looked porous. So,
Okay, but I could
I'm
say
not
that about France and Poland, Rich. If
great.
Poland had been able to get Lewandowski in the game, France would have gone out because Poland got into some very dangerous positions.
Yeah.
And France basically played on the break.
Yeah.
And used Mbappe.
And France have got, Pogba, even though he never did it
Garbage.
But for France, he hasn't been. For France, he's been good.
He ain't no Jude. He ain't no Jude and Phil.
He ain't no Phil. But I
did
think
you see Jude yesterday? Wow.
I thought Jude got plaudits, but Phil was the better player.
Listen, don't get me wrong. I thought the two of them. I put a tweet out, and if anyone go back, I put a tweet out of Bellingham. Yeah, I put Jude to Phil to Erling. Sorry, it's Kane. I'm wishing of 2024. And I kind of was like, I can just see Bellingham to fold into Erling Haaland. But maybe that was me. I honestly thought England yesterday, I'll be straight with you. I thought people got excited by the scoreline, Rich.
Yeah.
If we play like that against France, we go bye-bye. For the first 20 minutes of that game yesterday, we were dog awful. Stones and Maguire look like complete strangers together.
Yeah. If you play against prime France, if you play against
play against prime anyone, we're going on playing like that.
In a way, England and France played not dissimilar games in a way. They played on the break. They probably got flattered by the scoreline. And, so I think they're going in fairly not dissimilar form and with not dissimilar problems, interestingly. In that we've had a few magic moments up front for both sides, but a bit of, problems, some problems elsewhere. So I think it's 50-50. I mean, I will say that, although a couple of times early on yesterday didn't look quite as whatsoever, I think Stones has been pretty important for England. Everyone's been talking about Maguire, but Stones for me is, I think in the group stage.
Do you know why Maguire's getting talked about, Rich? Because he was the form Maguire's gone in with.
He was so terrible for United.
Because he's gone in being an absolute buffoon for United. Nobody was expecting his performance, especially against the USA. He was a rock against the US. But yesterday, I'm sorry, I thought Stones and him looked amateurish in the first half. I thought we looked awful together. Pickford kept us in the game. Straight away. And then I think that first goal we got through Henderson from Jude was probably the changing of the game, really. I think it knocked the stuffing out of Senegal. Let's put on if Senegal had 2 or 3 of their players back and Mane was fit, we might have had a problem yesterday. But it's all myth, buts and maybes. My point is, it was a great win by England, but to beat France, we have to massively improve. Improve. It will not be good enough that yesterday.
That's World Cup football, and
that's knockout football, Rich.
England's was a bit like you sometimes see it with City when we don't click. We get a goal. Amount of times City get a goal just before half time when they haven't clicked, and then they get another one pretty quickly. I mean, it wasn't playing on the break like that wasn't City-esque, but getting that sort of goal just before half time and then strolling to an easy victory when you'd had a bit of a problem. I see that a bit with us at times.
True. So, Rich, as someone said, we've had no injuries so far of any of our boys.
I wish they hadn't said that. Sounds like tempting fate to me. So everyone better touch wood, throw some salt over their shoulder and get some heather.
So what you're going to do is blame me.
Yeah, no one should
say that. Fault. If Alvarez breaks his leg and John Stones snaps his hamstring, and yeah, they're all coming back to me, are they? Anyway, it's going to be. We're nearly at the end of the World Cup now. We're sort of in the last knockings, the last couple of weeks now, and the World Cup's finished, and we are back to Premier League football. I want England to do well. I want all our City boys to do well, but I've always said it. To me, I'm club before country, and I'm looking forward to City. I've missed my football. I've missed me Etihad. I could drive by it every night, but it's not the same. Not that I do that.
I just want to see. What I really want to see when we get back is Phillips and Walker. 100% fit.
It's good Kyle Walker's playing now, actually.
Yeah, I want to see them fit back because we need Kyle Walker desperately. If we want to win the league and we want to win the Champions League, we need Kyle Walker, no question. And I think we need Phillips too, because Rodri is not going to be able to play there. Probably near 40 games we could play after Christmas if we went far in all the cups. So we're going to need 20 starts out of Phillips, I reckon. Especially with Gundogan and De Bruyne getting older. So, and I think we're going to need Walker for the big games. So I'm hoping we kind of rest Walker wherever possible in the rest of the season so that he's available at the end of the season for the big games.
Yeah. Well, what I want to tell everyone, obviously this has not been a big stream. It was very heavy on not being advertised. It was very light on advertisement, so I do apologise. Please share it around, though. Let's get some views on it. Share it around. Smash that thumbs up. If you haven't given it a thumbs up, please do it on your way out. Thursday night, Rich, are you with us before I announce what we're going to do?
I should be. Depends on the time, but yeah, if we get the time right.
I've decided, Rich. Can you do 10, I'm presuming?
I think so. I'll have to check my calendar and confirm.
Well, what we're going to do is we've promised this all the way through the World Cup. How would you all like a Manchester City quiz night? What we're going to do is get Rich in the old mastermind chair, put a hot light on him, and we're going to test his knowledge on Manchester City.
I think you're going to be testing the ability of my brain to still work, Martin, from old age.
And what I'll do as well, I will do questions. I think Xander, if I can get him on, he's going to be the quiz master. We're going to get all sorts on. It's not just going to be for dinosaurs. There will be questions for City fans abroad, City fans new, City fans old. There will be a variation of questions. If we can get enough people on the stream, we'll do it as a team. Yeah, we'll do it as a team. But the whole idea of Thursday night, because trust me now, me, Rich, and Ozzy know what's coming, don't we, Rich, after the World Cup? This channel is going to be pumping out videos every 2 or 3 days. Because from now till, is it the end of May, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be...
We're literally every 2 or 3 days. So what we decided to do during this World Cup is slow on the videos, have a little bit of a break, have a little bit of fun, because when we come back, we will be going hard. Trust me, we are going to be going a lot. So we need to recharge the batteries. But on Thursday night, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun. Grab yourself some drinks, grab yourself some snacks, sit down, enjoy, and we'll have a good old-fashioned Manchester City quiz night. And we'll show that, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm joking, but yeah, Rich, myself, if we can get enough people, we'll have teams. If not, it'll be single people. Yeah. All right, were you, Rich?
Yep, and some audience questions.
Oh, you want some audience questions as well, do
Can we
you?
get? Yeah, I want questions that are in the sweet spot around about John Benson's managerial career at City or something.
I thought Rich was going to tell us. Oh, Rich, well, you're on, mate. Oxford United, FA Cup draw. Are you happy with that?
Arsenal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think they should be able to knock them out.
Although, at the Kassam.
Yeah, I reckon. Knock them out. Why not? I mean, it's been quite a good cup draw actually. Some big ties. Both City and United. And there's some tasty ones. I quite like the idea of Coventry Wrexham. Bit of a non-league set there for the Hollywood, for the movie.
Well, we shall say that should be good anyway. But yeah, we're going to do quiz night Thursday, and then if England do get to a final, I might even do a World Cup final watch along. There won't be anything after Thursday night over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, because Martin's going away to celebrate his 40th. So Thursday night, that's it. I will be off and out skis to go and celebrate my 40th. I'm an old bugger now, Rich.
Yeah, and your brain will stop. You won't be able to do quiz. You'll forget things.
Blue Art wants to know who Wales have got in the World Cup, Rich.
I think we've got Argentina in the quarters.
Charlie then asked who've Australia got. No, you can't have a pop at Australia, Charlie. They've done better than Wales did.
Yeah. Australia were quite. It's quite amazing they got through the group stage. To be honest, with the footballers.
Didn't their top goal scorer not play as well? The guy at Melbourne City.
There was a couple who got injured. He didn't go, but I thought their main. Well, they haven't really got any main goal scorers because they don't really score very often.
Jesus. Getting worse. Is that why they had 500,000 people out in the streets of Sydney and Melbourne celebrating? I just want to know what was Alan doing half drunk on the floor with no clothes on. That's what I want to know. That was a bit over the top myself, Rich.
Yeah. Ozzy Allen, he was,
Ozzy Allen. Alan suddenly became an Aussie when there was a street party.
Yeah.
Terrible. But yes, listen, Australia were fantastic. So anyone who's watching from down under, we have got a lot of subscribers from down under. Congratulations on getting as far as you did. You did your country proud. Give Rich some stick because his old boys didn't do very proud. They had the nerve. England's B team went out. So I'm sorry, Wales. Try again next time. Anyway, Rich, thank you for joining us, mate.
No worries.
Have a lovely, lovely day at work. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Blue Art, Alec, Charlie, FIFA was on, Super City. We've had not many on tonight, but we've had the hardcore on tonight, which is means a lot to us. Jack Lee's been on as well. So big thank you to all of you. It has been an absolute pleasure and never a chore to speak to you. Absolute. And Neil as well was on. So thank you. Never a chore to speak to you, super people. I know it's been a weird one. I know it's not been quite City. We tried to make it City related for you to enjoy, but we'll be back Thursday night with the great Manchester City quiz. Should be a good one. Keep an eye on that Horsey City for the start time. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.